Hello, hello, good evening, and welcome back to Books and Bush Tea. The pups are going a little crazy over here, so try it again. See if she'll follow you in. We have she's just very like antisocial right now, Lucy. And for some reason, the music sets her off. But good evening, everyone. I'm Aniki. I'm your host for Books and Bush Tea, and I'm super excited to be here again tonight. We are we're having a really cool summer over here at Books and Bush Tea. I've got company. One of my little cousins has been staying with me, and we have been doing so many bookish things and hanging out during some time off that I've taken that she's off for the summer. And of course, this is a really cool time to hang out and be bookish. And we mentioned this last week, where one of the things that is interesting about living in the Caribbean is that it is so hot in the summer that we tend to hibernate in the summer rather than the winter. But it works out for me and it works out for us because we are such bookish people. So this evening, we had a really cool episode last week where I shared with you all of the bookstores all over the world that I have visited and that I have, I recommend to others whenever you're traveling. Today, I am also going to talk a little bit more about traveling and bookish types of travel, and kind of share with you a little bit of my book list, my travel list, my bucket list for traveling for books. Now, I have bookstores I want to visit. There are book towns I want to visit, but today we're going to focus on events, types of events that I'd like to go to, festivals, any special events that take place every couple of years. And some of these are actually very close by. Some of these are in the region. But first, as usual, we're going to catch up on how the week went. What was your week like? What was your reading week like? What was my reading week like? And I'd like to give you a little bit of a shout out. So this week, I spent some time with Underground Sessions. You'll remember this. When we first had some of our tech issues, we had a really cool episode with the guest, Mikhail. We call him Kyle Matrix because he's a performer. He is a DJ. He does all sorts of. He raps really, really well, and he also is the host and the founder of Underground Sessions. So Underground Sessions is a collective. It's a group of people that just gets together at the Prospect Playhouse. It's like an open mic night. And last night I was the featured artist, and you would have seen this probably all over social media. Prospect Playhouse, the Drama Society promoted this, so did the Underground Sessions group, and I also had it on our social media as well. But it made me realize as I was preparing for this episode that we don't have to travel very far to have a really good bookish experience. We have lovely bookstores. We have lovely secondhand bookstores. There are more book clubs in Cayman than I was even aware of. I'm learning more and more of them from my guests. Yes, and I know you want to be a part of one, but you don't, that's not how we do it. That's not how we do things around here. Can we be quiet? Good girl. So she's settling down. But Underground Sessions and Flowetry are two that are specific to arts and poetry and performance art. And Underground Sessions, I love how many people are writing music. There's so many people that are writing beautiful music. And so I actually really enjoyed myself last night. One of the musicians might actually be my favorite musician of all time. And that's big words because I'm a music buff just as much as I'm a book buff. But there's a young man by the name of Johan who Every time Johan touches a guitar, I feel like he just opens up a part of my soul. He's such a talented young man. And he's a regular at Underground Sessions. So if you've never heard of him, um, I'm trying to remember his last name. Is it Frick? Flick? Johan, amazing, amazing artist. I said to him last night, I really hope that you record because I want you in my car. I want your music in my bedroom. I want your music in my kitchen. I want your music all on, all day, every day. He is just so talented. But there are other talented artists as well. Some really, really surprising folks that I'd never seen before. Young people. Um, some of the OGs were there last night. Will Doran was there last night. Will is a also a talented musician, but he has been such a mentor and teacher to so many people in the community. And he's visiting with his family from the UK, and he did such a lovely performance last night. He kind of pulled in some of the old crew, and to jump in on music that he was making. Um, and there was some really good poetry as well that was performed. So tonight, if we have time, towards the end of this episode, I will share a little bit of what I shared last night. I don't have it close by, but I'll grab a little bit of what I shared last night because I have quite a bit of new work. And once again, I write by accident. I journal in the mornings, and sometimes a poem comes out. It just leaks out. And once again, I was sitting down preparing for not this episode, but last night's show, and going through my journals. I'm like, hold on, I've written quite a lot of poetry in the last year and a half since the book was published. So, hey, let me try some new stuff. Let me see how well liked it is, and and it was very, very well received. I actually shared a poem that I wrote for my ex-husband um, when we were separating and coming to peace with moving on. And it was so funny because y'all hear me say this all the time. He might have been the greatest husband for me, but he's been a very good ex-husband. And so there was a poem that I shared through that experience. But I write a lot about my experiences, right? So I have to sometimes be a little careful when things are a little too close. But I'll share some of those poems towards the end of this episode. But today I wanted to also share with you, because I told you all that I was getting into this thing. And I shared about it on social media. But there's a whole community around here that does this. So I got my hands on the starter set. Oops, I got that background thing going on for Dungeons and Dragons, and it's the Borderlands. It's the starter set, and it comes with four adventure books, three adventure books. I have poster maps. There are handouts. There's combat trackers. There's a quick start guide and a play guide. There's monster tokens. They have a set of dice in here. But then I got super into it. We had our first game on the weekend, and ambitious like I am, I decided I was gonna be dungeon master, and I had no idea what I was doing. So of course that slows things down quite a lot because you have to refer to the rules and so on. But we have a date set for our second game this weekend, and I'm so excited. I decided, like, if I'm gonna be dungeon master, I have to take this thing seriously, right? So I went and I got my hands on this beauty of a book. This has been my reading for the week. It's the Player's Handbook for the 2024 rules, and it is beautiful. It is so well illustrated. The rules are beautifully explained. I feel like I'm going to be such a master. Oh, some of these illustrations are just stunning. So this is the Player's Handbook. And then there's also the Dungeon Master's Guide, right? So this is the Dungeon Master's Guide, which is also stunning. So, and these are all available locally. I had these in my Amazon cart, and then I found out that there was a place called Mesa del Sol, and it's in Camana Bay between Union and Next Door, I think. They have these in stock, so I went and I picked these up. We got a cup. Annie and I went. We got ourselves our own sets of dice. She likes purple. I wanted a really like gorgeous gel. There's like a gemstone looking one that I got my hands on. So we got our polyhedric our dice set. So, and we're gonna be masters of this thing by the end of the summer. Totally nerding out. So yeah, I'm hoping to have those guys on, some of the dungeon masters, to come on and talk with us a little bit about Dungeons and Dragons, because the reason I even got into it in the first place is very much connected to books and writing in particular. I decided I wanted to write a fantasy. And one of the things that I've always kind of struggled with has been not so much world creation, because I'm actually pretty good with imagining scene and describing scene, um, but holding on and being in a creating a complex plot has been something that I wanted to learn more about. And so the gamers in my life have recommended that I get my hands. Well, first of all, they recommended World of Warcraft, and I'm like, no, this is not for me. I'm not into the computer game thing, so I need to be interactive face to face. So they recommended Dungeons and Dragons, and I am loving it. Also, one of the things that, if you guys are interested in anything around like building the storytelling skill that you learn with Dungeons and Dragons, I see some of our viewers are clicking in. Please feel free to write comments, because we'll talk live with you. But we also have a couple of things I discovered that are helping me get myself understanding the process. Is there's a show on YouTube called Critical Role, ROLE, and I got into campaign 4 of Critical Role. It's a little slow going, because it's like they take the entire first episode, which is like 4 hours long, to introduce all the characters, and I don't think it's normal to have that many characters in a dungeon in a game, in a Dungeons and Dragons game. But for the show, they have developed a whole world that is just stunning, and I'm learning how the dungeon master works. I'm learning how to use the dice to add a little uncertainty to the game. I'm learning how it actually plays out, and it's very, very cool to watch. If you're into that, there's also a faster version of it, and it's actually Black D&D. That's kind of like how they promoted it, but it's called Keeping It D100. Super cool. But so that's been my week. Like my week of being at like chilling and preparing for my next adventure, which starts very soon, is has been like kind of just sitting in and hibernating a bit with books. Hibernating. On Saturday I also went to I love that secondhand bookstore at the Humane Society. The Humane Society bookstore. I took some of the teenagers with me, and we picked up a couple of books. And one of them that I picked up, I don't know if anyone's ever read it. It's called The Golem and the Djinn. And I'm so interested in it because it just, first of all, it looks like a well-loved book. Whoever had this book before spent some time in it. Like they really enjoyed this book. There's been and that's also kind of special about secondhand books, right? You get a little feel for what a person's relationship was like with the book beforehand. But I also picked up the Percy Jackson book, the first one, The Lightning Thief. I saw the movie, but my niece is reading through them, and she's almost finished. She's almost finished Percy Jackson, and I want to catch up because I really like this kind of like modernizing old mythologies. So I'm gonna get into that as well whenever I finish my rule books in the coming week, because that won't take me that long. But that's what the week has been like for reading on my end, and I'd love to hear from you guys on how reading has been going for you, or writing, because writing is also a big part of what we do here at Books and Bush Tea. But yeah. So this is going to be the last week of just me sharing from my soul and my relationship with books for a little while. Next week we're going to have a guest come in from a local guest who is an illustrator. She has been with us before. Her name is Christy Anderson. Christy has been with us. She joined us in January. She and Michelle, who are two of our best known illustrators on Ireland, and she's up to something big, and she hasn't even told me what it is yet. So I am dead curious to see what she's up to, what she's going to share with us. And we're going to talk a lot about illustrations and her plans and her projects. So I'm shifting microphones here. I hope you can hear me better. So, give me a little feedback in the comments if that's the case. But Christy will be joining us next week, and that's going to be a lot of fun because she's so full of energy and such good ideas. And I feel like, our illustrators are the ones that keep the images alive for those of us who need a little kick to see what's going on in our books. But today we're going to talk about a couple of things that are on my bucket list as a reader. I am excited to share with you a couple of types of things I want to travel to. The first of these events is a literary festival. And I'm going to share with you a little bit about the literary festivals that I really, really like. I'm going to put something up for you real quick. All right. So one of them is actually very close to home, and it's called Calabash. And not only is it called Calabash and close to home, it's in my grandmother's home parish in Jamaica. And it's, a lot of Caymanians are very well connected. I think that's where the Ebexes are from. There's a bunch of families that originated, and of course that's where my dad's family is from. But St. Elizabeth is very, very dear to me. So on top of it, you add a literary festival, and you know that is just one of the most magical places that you could go to. I haven't yet attended Calabash, but it is on my bucket list. And this is one of the representatives of Jake's, and Jake's the hotel, who will be telling us a little bit about Calabash.
Kwame Dawes and Colin Chana started Calabash back in 2001. It's the largest literary festival in the Caribbean, Central and Latin America. To see 5,000 people converge on this little fishing village and these authors and poets that are flying in from all over the world, it transforms the area for pretty much a week. Don't be a tourist, be a traveler, be a visitor who wants to get something back from a vacation that's going to live with you forever. The Wyas Waterfalls, the Lovers Leap, the Appleton Rum Tour, going out to Pelican Bar, going over to Alligator Pond with Blackie. These are the kind of things that you're going to have a lifelong connection to. Come to the South Coast and let's make that happen together.
Oh my goodness. And it just makes me so excited because, St. Elizabeth went through quite a bad couple of hurricanes. There was Beryl, and then there was that beast last year. But Jake's is a hotel in South St. Elizabeth, just down from Southfield. And it is just a lovely, lovely, lovely hotel. And I know that they're working on their recovery, and I think they may be back open now. I'm not sure, but I'll check in. But we'll keep an eye on when Calabash is coming up. So these are the ones that are on my bucket list. But Calabash is one that I've always wanted to go to. Marlon James was said to be at Calabash in the past, and a lot of the authors from that are well known throughout Jamaica and Latin America today. Several of my fellow members of the Association of Caribbean Women Writers and Scholars attend this festival, and so I've been encouraged to make sure I get on a plane at some point, especially since it's right close to family, and there are also a couple of I know that there are a few Caymanians that are actually in boarding school in St. Elizabeth. Some of the best schools in the Caribbean are in St. Elizabeth, so if you want to go and visit and carry those kids over, that'd be an awesome experience, I'm sure. So Calabash is on the list. We'll see when the next Calabash is. I haven't seen any notifications go out about Calabash 2026, which I kind of expect to be a little bit delayed or maybe not this year, based on the fact that they did have such a bad strike from the hurricane. There is another festival, however, that I would love to introduce you to, that I myself am dying to go to. And I think I mentioned the little town that it's in our last episode, because there are a couple of towns that are all book-based, right? And there's one in Wales called Hay. So hang tight and let's take a look at the Hay Festival.
I could never have dreamt there were such things going on
in the world between the covers of books.
I could never have dreamt there were such things going on.
In the world between the covers of books.
Such sandstorms and ice blasts of words.
Such staggering feasts.
Such enormous laughter.
Such and so many blinding lights.
Splashing all over the pages.
In a million bits and pieces, all of which were words.
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 And each of which were alive forever. In its own delight and glory.
And oddity. And light.
Oh, you can't hear me. That is, I'm super excited to go to that. I really want to go to it next year. That is the Hay Literary Festival at Hay on Wye. And it's in Wales. And it's actually in a town that is apparently beautiful to visit, even outside of the festival itself, because the town is built around bookstores. I think there's something like, what did they say, 10 or 12 bookstores in this little town. And almost every store is a bookstore. So it's a pretty special place for those of us who love books. And I feel like there's something also pretty special about it being in Wales. Something about Wales. So many Caymanians have Welsh ancestry, and the actually run for a week. But I think it's in Hay. That'd be awesome. That'd be like a fantasy story come true. Like, the bookshop, the special bookshop or the spell shop by Sarah Beth Durst, that kind of book, that kind of cozy fantasy feeling just kind of comes to life in a town like that. So those are two of the literary festivals I want to go to. And the Hay Festival is actually a well-known, probably one of the largest and most well-known global festivals. And if you imagine that thousands of people come to this festival throughout the week that it is being held on this little town, it's pretty special. So, and it also seems to be pretty like chill. It's one of those places that just seems to be really accessible and very, very chill. Then there's also a couple of places I wanted to show you as well. So there's also book fairs. There are a couple of book fairs that I really am interested in, but there's one in particular, and I'm going to pull the photos up for you real quick. There's one in particular. If the Hayes Festival is one of the biggest and most well-known global events for books, then the Bologna Children's Book Fair is probably the largest in the world when it comes to children's books. And I have a video somewhere, but I think it was a little too big to put up this evening. But I'm going to probably share it on my Instagram this week. I'm a little backed up on that stuff, guys. I know I promise I'll catch up with the things that I promised to share, but this is something I'm going to share tonight. This is a book fair held in Bologna, Italy, for children's books. It is a haven for illustrators. And you'll see there are a lot of Oh, some of these are so gorgeous. Look at that kitty. There's a lot of illustrative styles because, of course, children's books involve a lot of color, they involve a lot of imagery, and I would love to see some of our own illustrators represented in the Bologna Children's Book Fair. But one of the things that I learned about this fair that is actually fascinating to me is that they feature a country every year. And it's a big deal. Like so the one that I was looking at, I think it was 2024, they had Estonia as their featured country. And the president of Estonia flew in to take part in the festival. And there was an interview with the head of the exhibition for Estonia, the country of Estonia. The Minister of Culture and the President of Estonia were flying in that day to participate. I'm going to share that because that was such a lovely video, and it really, really opens up just how big the book world is. So during this festival, they have like a festival grounds where it's not a festival so much as it is a fair. The fair grounds it's in a kind of like the convention centers that they have in like Vegas and in Orlando. They have a convention center that they host this fair in. But then in the city of Bologna, within the city center, there are also events for children and families to come to and meet some of these authors and see some of these books. And it's a much more interactive type of event. So there's something there for everyone in the family. And that's one of the things that really drew me to the Bologna Children's Book Fair. And of course, we also have our own book fairs, right? I know that some of the schools still participate in the Scholastic Book Fair. I know when my godson was at Cayman Prep, we used to go to the Scholastic Book Fair, and he'd get all excited about what he could buy and what he could carry home. And I think Nico still does that. There are a few of the kids that have been part of the show in the past that have actually participated in the Scholastic Book Fair. They also have challenges and so on throughout their schools. But that international book fair where all of these countries come together, it really brings to mind the sense of unity that books can create. It's something I was talking about today. Having spent time at underground sessions in such a diverse, it was a small little, you know what the Prospect Playhouse is like. It's a small playhouse, but it is so cozy and very accessible and comfortable and chilled, right? And I looked around and just saw so many different nationalities and histories and stories represented in that room. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is Cayman. But not only is this Cayman, this is the world of books. This is the world of art. This is the world of culture. And we get to share that together and just celebrate being human together. And, we've just come off of the World Cup where that has been such a pervasive theme of shared humanity, shared outrage, shared perspective, and shared love of a single sport, and shared love for a team, this shared sense of being human together on the planet. And sport does that, but so does art, and so does reading, and so do books. But today there's also there's a fun episode there's a fun type of event that I would also like to introduce you to. I'm super excited to get my hands on one of these places. I haven't been able to do it yet, but I do plan to. And I'm gonna download. Hold on, let me get this up. There are a couple of good ones that I didn't have time to download in time for the show, but I think this is one that I'm gonna share with you real quick. Oh yeah, this is the one. All right, so this new type, and I think it is relatively new, this new type of, oh my goodness, I wasn't live on Instagram, forgive me. This new type of event really, really has me excited. And I think in many ways it was inspired by Comic-Con, because Comic-Con is all over the US. I think they have Comic-Con in other countries now. And so that's like a celebration of comics and of like the Marvel universe, the DC universe. They have this culture that's been built around Comic-Con, and you see things like tattoo artists and costume providers and all sorts of cool stuff that comes out of these events, right? Because it's cosplay, right? It's costume and costume play events. But one of them that I came across that I really, really, really like, and I mentioned this last week, is the Bridgerton Ball. I love it. I love this. I don't know about y'all, but I love it. The costumes. Look, the diamond of the ball is chosen. And this is actually an open experience at bridgertonexperience.com. And of course, Bridgerton, this would have come out of the Bridgerton book series that then became the Bridgerton show. So there's this huge thing that's coming out of this, that where you're starting to see fairy festivals, fairy balls. You're starting to see Renaissance festival. Don't get me wrong. Renaissance fairs and Renaissance festivals have always existed, but you're starting to see a very different kind of approach to these things, where, grown adults are setting themselves up to like be whimsical and playful. I have a cousin in the US who she's kind of getting into like the EDM scene, and that's another place where you're starting to see the cosplay show up, right? So you're not waiting for Halloween anymore to dress up. You're going as a fairy to an EDM rave, right? You're getting your wings and your bikini top, and it's like a festival all over again. And it's kind of like our carnival here, except it's just far more casual, and you get to just choose how you want to do this. So of course, I'm thinking about, how do you prepare for participating in something like this? And I have a Fae Festival video that if it actually downloads in time, I'm going to share it with you as well. But all of these events that are based on books, that are, inviting us to be whimsical and to play around, and even the Dungeons and Dragons stuff. I don't, because they make quite a big appearance at places like Comic-Con as well, right? But the D&D groups also do quite a lot of the costume stuff. And so now I'm thinking, if I get into this stuff, am I going to have to like take a deep dive? So of course, the girl's going to spend some time on the internet when she has a little extra time. And I've been looking at costumes. And I'm going to show you a little bit of what I found. You'd have seen this is my favorite. I'm just going to show you one. I'm not going to drown you in images of fairies. But there's this, actually I'll show you too. On Etsy, there has been like an influx of this type of costume, and some of these things are pricey, but some of these are like beautiful and whimsical, and I'm like, maybe I should get into this. Like, this looks like something I would enjoy. So you can see that this is a young lady who's dressed up for a fairy ball. And this is actually one of the dresses that is advertised, I think, on Etsy. It's like a fairy princess ball, or an elven princess. And then I love this one. I love this one so much because it's like dark gothic fairy. And of course it comes with the wings, it comes with this corset, and there's like lacing on the bodice, and there's a lot of embroidery, there's a lot of whimsical type color patterns. And I love the airs. There's also like a whole festival. It's called the Black Fae Festival. So this is like becoming multicultural. It is multicultural. It's across multiple cultures. But of course, in some of the societies where there's like a safety in numbers type experience, you're starting to see like, oh, there's a lovely, I love this particular image. This lady does some really beautiful stuff with her. I'm gonna see if I can just like take this photo for you and show you real quick. But she does a stunning job of her own fairy costumes. And of course, this is like getting into the romanticy side of things. There's something very romantic, and it connects to like the Akatar and the fourth wing to get dragons and fairies and so on involved. And I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna share this image with you guys. But her Instagram, the lady's Instagram, I don't think it's just hers, but this is just, she's featured on Black Fae Day, and it's BLACKFAE Day official on Instagram. She has the coolest fake like photos on this, but of course it's like we add our own flair, we add our own personalities to these things, and she has like, I'm gonna show you what she's done. I'm going to show you this lovely photo. If it'll only come up, hang tight. Oh, there's an issue with my file, it says. Okay, let's try that again. If I can't get it up, don't worry about it. I'll put her on my story. Oh, here she is. Look at this. And she's got the whimsy added into this, like with special effects on her photos and stuff. And it really, this image connects to one of my poems that I performed last night that I'm going to share with you tonight. It's one of those that is like really, really special, whimsical, childlike, playful. And I feel like that's actually what these events do for me. In many ways, I think that's why I've found them so magical and attracting to me for travel. Because, you know, we get to a place where we travel to shop. Yes, we travel to shop, particularly when things are getting more and more expensive to import, etc. But then that becomes a very utilitarian use of your travel time and your vacation days, particularly when you have things like Amazon available to you. And then you get into a place where you're like, you know what? I'm going to travel for nature. So then you start to go and you travel and see beautiful parts of nature, which of course I'd like to spend some time on at some point as well, because there's a lot to see in the world. But then once you've gotten to the point where you're like, you know what, I'd like to build community, international connection to hope, to faith, to the future, to something that unifies us. Books can be one of those things. And we are finding that so many of these events are doing this. So I'm going to tell you, this image reminds me of one of the poems that I performed last night that I'm just going to share with you really briefly. And I'm going to keep the image up just so you can feel it as I share it. Moonshine Dolly. We made one moonshine dolly on the banks of Papa Bay. By the way, I'm going to stop here because not everybody knows what a moonshine dolly is. You'll learn as you listen to this poem. But a moonshine dolly is something that Caymanian children used to do. They used to create these dollies out of broken glass that was found on the sea. That was like put out on the sand. They'd make all of these shapes. They're mosaics, really, is what they were. But then in the moonlight, they would brighten, they would be beautiful, and they'd become very sparkly and magical. And of course, that was a magical experience in a very, very simple time in a simple life. We made one moonshine dolly on the banks of Papa Bay. And I know when that full moon rose, that old dolly flew away. I mean, we spent the whole time that Saturday afternoon looking for sea glass pieces to light up underneath the moon. Gia found one big piece for the dolly's pretty face. And they found the most pieces, searching careful round the place. Alex and Levi got some long ones for her arms and legs and dress. But I think it was Millie and Morgan were the ones who put us in this mess, 'cause them two children was determined to give that dolly wings, 'cause they believe in fairies and duppies and all them magic things. When the moonlight hit that dolly made of glass upon the sand, Layla and Avery was so shocked, each one grabbed me by the hand. Auntie Nikki, the dolly flying, come quick and see, it's true. When I see that dolly lift up, I didn't know what I should do. She got up a couple inches and spread out each pretty wing. She winked at all the children as her magic began to sing. The prettiest moonshine dolly that I have ever seen played and frolicked with the children, jumping rope with full moon beams. As the children each got sleepy, they all curled up for a nap. Baby Nolan started snoring when he climbed up on my lap. Nobody was left awake when the moonshine dolly turned to me, dipped a pretty little curtsy, and flew right out to sea. When you see a full moon coming, collect your glass and do not dally. Remember I tell you, there is magic in every moonshine dolly. So this is what we do. This is what we create for ourselves. We bring our child back to life with some of the beauty of the costumes and the playfulness. And this, once again, is my favorite of the costumes that I found on Etsy. I really like that Etsy does some really cool costumes for other things as well. Like you'll see them do really well-made witches' hats and cauldrons, and they do a lot of I think they even do, you can even get like some of the droid type stuff as well, like, you know, when you have like bionic parts of your body from science fiction and such. So Etsy is another magical place to play. As you think about travel, one of the things that I would recommend that you do as you think about traveling for books is set up a folder in your Instagram, set up a folder on your TikTok, set up a folder in any one of your social medias that you use. And as you start to look into these types of events, the algorithms will tend to push them to you. You know, you're gonna as you display an interest in a thing, it kind of tends to send you more of that thing. And I have a couple of different Instagrams. I have my own personal one, but I also have the one for the show, and the show is full of book inspiration, book travel, book ideas, illustrators, illustration ideas. And if you actually set yourself up with a folder of all the places that you'd like to travel, when the time comes to book a ticket, all you have to do is look through and see what's close by. Like what's close by to what I'm planning to do anyway. You know, if I know that I'm going to the UK to look at universities, are there any festivals that are happening? Is there a time for me to stop by and visit Hatchard's, which is, of course, my favorite bookstore in London? Is there an opportunity for me to travel out into Wales, for me to go to Hay and Wye, Hay on Wye? And there are other places in the world that are like this, right? There's quite a lot of this in places like Boston. Actually, there's a couple of these events are taking place in places as close as Atlanta. There's a Comic-Con that took place this year in Florida. This is not that far out of reach. And, you know, Canada is also very, very, very good for its bookish culture and its bookish connection. You know, this was something I didn't get to finish. It was a thought that I had last week that I didn't get to finish, where we were talking about bookstores in different parts of the world and what they can tell you about the culture of the bookstores, of the country that you're in. One of the things that I noticed, and these are just observations, this is not making anything wrong, right, or even indifferent. Like, this is not a judgment so much as an observation that made me prepare for the flavor of a bookstore in a certain country. I noticed that in the Caribbean, in some, for instance, in Sangsters in Jamaica, you're going to find a lot of Caribbean books. You're going to also find like bestsellers and so on that you would find for like in most touristy shops that you would, your travel bookstore. But you're also going to find a lot of academic work. You're going to find a lot of like UE supported work. And of course, I haven't been there in a few years, so I'm speaking from a previous experience. But you're also going to find textbooks. You're going to find useful, valuable academic textbooks. I find that in Cayman, even, you find that the bookstore, the different bookstores have different flavors as well. So you're going to find more heavy trend centered book buying at Next Chapter, and you're going to find a more traditional bookstore which has bestsellers as well as a very large and diverse children's section, which is older books as well as new stuff at the Book Nook. But of course, as you know, the Book Loft is my spot because the Book Loft is endless and it goes back so far. The books that are, you don't find old books in new bookstores. You find them in secondhand bookstores. Similarly, when you go to Canada, you're going to find a different kind of bookstore than what you find in the US. I find that Canadian bookstores have a more diverse. I almost feel like Canada is where I find the best selection because Canada draws on the UK as well as the US for the books that are stocked in, say, Indigo. Like I found books that were from Scottish authors, and they were from the British market, and they ended up in Canada. And I really, really enjoy that because one of the things that I really love about living in Britain is my access to British writing. I really enjoy modern British writing, particularly in the humor, in epic fantasy, and just in general in like contemporary literary fiction. In the US, you find the bookstores are very trendy, very publishing house supported, very like you don't find a lot of independent work in what are they called again? The big ones, Barnes and Nobles, right? But you're gonna find indie books in an Indigo, right? So it's kind of cool to see that. Um, and I might, I say this based on like having picked up some very interesting indie books in Indigo. But I think the book publishing world is also changing. You're seeing independent authors actually becoming bestsellers in a way that you really wouldn't have thought about that before. You would have thought that the way to become a successful author in the past would have been to, to make sure that you sign with a good publishing house. But now, you're looking at Dungeon Crawler Carl being one of the top books ever sold in that like busting genres. And that's an independent author. And there's so many opportunities now to get your work out into the world with the advent of the internet and the development of literature in response to this open information field. But bookstores have their own flavor and they have their own culture. And book events also have their own flavor and their own culture. And it's a wonderful way to travel and an excellent way to connect with a culture, a home culture, is to enter that bookstore or enter that bookish event. Now, we have a couple of things that are coming up in the next couple of weeks, and I'm just going to close off our event, our evening just a little bit early today. I have had some help offered to me to set me up with my admin and getting my guests on. But you'll see our email is kind of been running underneath at the very bottom of the show all along. The email for Books and Bush Tea is booksandbushtea@gmail.com. You spell that out completely. Books and A&D, Bush Tea. We're looking to fill our calendar until the end of the year and make sure that we have our guests well taken care of, well prepared, and our audience being fed the latest information about the book community and events and so on throughout Cayman. Over the next couple of weeks, you're going to see I'm getting some help, and we're going to get some admin support to make sure that we're scheduled, make sure we're set up well, make sure that all of our tech stuff is handled before before we get on here and crash, which is, like we've had a couple of issues with our tech. But it will be a pleasure to start to develop Books and Bush Tea better, further, growing. We've been going since November of last year, and I still can't believe it. Or was it December? I think it was December we went live last year. And it's, we're almost, like, we're in August. It's been great. And we never thought that it would be this rich and this constant like this. We have not run out of material. It's just like, it's just the challenges of life and keeping up with like being on the show, and also setting it up and making sure we have all the links and so on loaded, etc. Those have been the challenges that we've been facing, right? So it's just the growing pains of getting into a more sophisticated and more established show. But I want to thank Cayman and the community of book readers, writers, illustrators, and everyone who's supported this show so far. It has been such a pleasure. I look forward to my Thursday evenings so much, especially now that the computer's back up and running. But it's been such a pleasure to be participating in this this part of keeping culture and growing culture, because culture is a living thing, and being part of that through Books and Bush Tea. So with that, I'm going to bid you an early good night, and I'm going to thank you for being here with me this evening. And I'm also going to ask you to please send us photos if you go to any of these events or any of these bookstores overseas. Please don't be shy. Tag us on social media. I'll show you what our Instagram looks like real quick. Our Instagram is Books and Bush Tea Show on Instagram. Pop us a little note. You can also WhatsApp us on 925-8521. Send us a quick note, and we will get you connected. And we'd love to see your photos of the events that you visit as a result of listening to some of the inspiration that we're talking about here today. So lovely reading. Enjoy, and keep in touch with us. We'll see you next week with our new guest. Our guest, Miss Christy Anderson, is joining us next week. So we'll see you next Thursday on Books and Bush Tea. Night-night.